Alright, you might want to grab yourself a cup of coffee and get yourself cozy because I got a lot of thoughts about this one. And of all movies that I thought that I would be doing a long review for, I did not think it would be this movie, especially one that I feel like no one's probably watched. But welcome to my channel. Let's get talking about The Empty Man. Now, The Empty Man is about an urban legend in which you take a bottle, you blow into it, and you think of the empty man, and he's this like supernatural presence who's supposed to come. The first night you hear him, the second night you see him, and then the third night you get him. So this is a supernatural horror film. When I heard that, I was like, yeah, this is probably gonna be like the Bye Bye Man or Slender Man level of trash. The marketing for this movie started a week before it was dropped into theaters, so automatically I was like, yeah, studios are just trying to get that Halloween cash in the year 2020, and this was probably shelved for years and they didn't know what to do with it. And even when you watch the movie, the opening of the movie, you get the 20th Century Fox logo, not even the new one with the Disney merge. So clearly this movie was shot in probably like, what, 2017? And was probably ready for 2018, but then after word of mouth of how bad Bye Bye Man and Slender Man were, they probably were like, well, we don't know how to market this thing. So they shelved it for years, and now it's out in the year 2020, and none of you guys are watching it, but my good friend Emma, who runs the awesome YouTube channel Spooky Astronauts, who I follow on social media, tweeted and went to Instagram talking about how much she loved this movie, and I was like, well, I haven't watched the trailer. Let me go into this blindly. I'll go watch it. I'll probably still hate it or whatnot. But let me see. I trust her word of mouth. Y'all, this movie fucked me up. And I don't normally cuss on this channel, but it fucked me up, y'all. This is legitimately creepy and terrifying. And my brain is going berserk because I feel like I might be the only one. I walked out of theater and I'm like, do I have really bad taste? Because I legitimately liked that and like was legitimately scared while watching this movie. I have so many thoughts about this movie. First and foremost, the marketing for this film, I feel so bad for it. One, it has a generic title. It has an awful, poor, bland poster. It had a trailer that came out last week, which luckily I watched after the movie, and I will say this, that trailer does not do disservice. It is completely misleading. If you watch that trailer and then started watching this movie, you would literally think you're watching the wrong movie. The only thing that this movie has in connection to Bye Bye Man, Slender Man, and Candyman is that urban legend-esque type of thing. Honestly, this movie is more like The Ring meets a independent little film from a filmmaker that I don't want to say because it would spoil the fun, but let me just say it comes from IFC Midnight. And it's like those two movies merged together, and I've been seeing some YouTubers on this channel kind of spoiling what element of that is, what subgenre this kind of morphs into. And that doesn't come into the movie until an hour into the film. But I will say this, the movie opens up with a 20-minute prologue sequence that I feel like a lot of people will say is like you're getting like two different movies. Like some people feel like they could just watch that 20 minutes. But my thing is those 20 minutes already exist in so many other movies. That's Bye Bye Man. That's Slender Man. This movie is like The Ring. And it's funny because I was just talking to my good friend Philip. We were talking about how there's so little horror mysteries anymore. Like, about where does it come from? What are the origins of it? And you got this mystery element, and that's what propels this movie. This movie is also 2 hours and 17 minutes. That's another thing, another reason. This type of horror movie on paper screams 88 minutes. I was even making jokes about this movie prior to watching it. I was like, look, when I said I wanted horror epics like It and stuff like that to come back, I was not referring to you, Empty Man, to be that guy. But honestly, that's what I like about this movie. It's slow. It's somber. And this movie legitimately creeped me out the way The Ring creeped me out. It's a game of patience. And I really feel like the first 20 minutes do a fantastic job at setting up the playing field. So when the actual plot kicks in, with this retired cop trying to uncover the empty man and all that stuff, that you actually are invested into the mystery element because you've seen the horrors of what this empty man entity can do. And that what makes it really fascinating. There's also a little bit of Lovecraftian in this movie. I will say, this is not a perfect movie. Just because I'm praising it and all that stuff, it's not a perfect movie. It definitely falls victim of movies like this. They, what makes them so fascinating is most of the time the mystery element to it is a lot more terrifying than the actual horror of what it actually is. And some people will feel like it goes a bit off the rails towards the end of the movie. For me, it didn't really do that, but I do think the ending could have been a little bit better constructed. But it's still ultimately, I can't deny the fact that I was glued to the screen. And there's a sequence in this movie where they kind of go off into the woods. And maybe if I hadn't seen The Ring at the drive-in, maybe like a week before this movie, I probably wouldn't have noticed the Cabin 12 Easter egg that's in this movie. But I thought that was really great. But this wood sequence, y'all, legitimately freaked me out. Like, I was like sweating bullets, creeped out, could not blink during this scene. Like, central concept of this movie, of the Empty Man, is really easy and basic, and we've been there, done that. The mystery of it all is super fascinating, and at times, yeah, it gets a little convoluted. So I really feel bad for the filmmaker, because I feel like this movie is going to tank at the box office, but I really, really hope this movie finds its audience, because while it's not a perfect movie, there is some absolutely haunting imagery in this film. Also, the sound design in this movie was fantastic. If you find little whispers and odd noises like the wind and stuff like that creepy, then I think you will really get a lot out of this, because this movie has a sort of ASMR type of score that I found super unsettling. I loved this movie, y'all. It's not the scariest movie of 2020. It is the most fascinating film. And some people will probably hate this movie, but I loved it, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys, so please check it out. I love The Empty Man. It takes a basic generic premise and turns it into a Ring-like horror mystery where you're trying to uncover what is the Empty Man, and I found it fascinating, creepy. The ASMR score really got under my skin. There's some fantastic horror imagery, a sequence out in the woods that literally petrified me to my core. I love this movie. It might jump off the rails a little bit and get a little convoluted at times towards the end, but overall, I love The Empty Man and find this film extremely underrated, and I want more people to check this one out. As the score goes, I'm going to give The Empty Man a 4 out of 5. So you guys, there you have it. That was my review for The Empty Man. I cannot believe this movie. I feel like I'm going crazy. Am I the only one who loves this movie? Am I the only one who saw this movie? What did you think of it? Like, let me know. I want you to talk about this movie. So until next time, I'm the Slasher Movieer, and you guys have just been slashed.